Hija.
Sorrow.
Anita.
Hugo.
Adrian.
Dean.
And Cat. Well, morning. Nice roll up. Good to see you all. And what we talk about is what they call in Hinduism Advaita, meaning non-duality, or one without a second, not two. Only that. Sat Chitananda, existence, consciousness, be. Nama Rupa, name and form. And that's what we miss out on, that everything is already that. Only the one essence. It's all equal. All the one life expressing in all the different patterns, shapes and forms. And that's the simplicity of it that's missed out on. Because we've taken on this belief we are separate entities, individuals, persons. But if what they're saying is true, it's absolute. And what can you add to absolute? Nothing whatsoever. What can you take away from it? Nothing. So there is only that, and everything is that. That's the great mantra, I am that. How many of you understand it? That's the chair you're sitting in, that's the carpet on the floor, that's the tree, that's the flower, that's the space in the room. Everything is already that, which we're putting other words or labels on. And the word's not the thing. You can't drink the word water, you can't swim in it, you won't drown in it. Word fire, you can't cook with it, burn your mouth with it, or heat yourself with it. So what's this word I or me that we've taken on board? When you look into it, you see it's not the way we take it. You can't remember your birth. Why? Because you didn't have any words at birth. And realised we didn't take on any words till we were about 2.5. When the parents fussing around, speaking, and we picked up the word. And we learnt words. They told you a little Johnny or little Jean or whatever your name might be. And you've taken it, I am little Billy or little Johnny. Instead of realising I am that one essence. So we've taken on the idea we're separate entities, persons and individuals. And that sense of separation is insecurity. It's vulnerability. We're vulnerable and insecure, fearful and anxious. And that's how we've been brought up to believe that, and never questioning it. But down through the ages there's always been someone who's looked into it and seen it, that it is absolute, only the one essence. In Buddhism they call it the great perfection. Perfect is the same as absolute. You can't add anything to perfection, you can't take anything away from it. And they give it to you in one sentence there. The great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. Awareness without any concepts. Anybody who is not unaware right now, or not existing. No, you know that you are existing, you're not unaware, not unconscious. Anyone who's not happy to be, well, you don't want to be dead right now, so you love to be. And so you recognise that you are already that. You are already existing, you're already conscious or aware, and you're already loving to be. So we've got this idea or belief that we're these persons, these separate entities, and when you look at the word person, it comes from the ancient Latin persona, a mask, meaning we've got a conceptual image. Where parents give us this name and form, And the name and form is Maya. It's illusory. There's only the one reality, and that's what needs to be recognised. You are already that. And it is, instead of trying to become something, recognising it is already so, and relaxing into it, and seeing that everything is spontaneous, natural, and effortless. That breath you just took, did you have to think about it? The beating of your heart, did you have to think about that? You didn't. It's happening spontaneously and naturally. And spontaneous means right now. But we got this concept of time. Well, I haven't got it now, but if I do this practice, or go here or go there, I will become something. But becoming is not being. And Satchitananda is being, knowing, loving to be. Becoming is not being. Becoming implies a future time. And when you look into the concept of time, ask yourself, is there a past if I don't think about it? You realize there's no past unless you think about it. But you say, I was in the past. Well, I'll say to you, try and live yesterday. Try and live a moment ago, or last week. You can't realise, you can't go back and live it, you can recall it. And you can't recall it all, because a lot of it's gone. So if you can't recall it, you can't say it's ever happened. It's only appearing to be so. And that's why they call it a phenomenal manifestation. This manifestation, the whole lot of it is phenomenal. And the definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. So it's all appearing to be, not as it really is. And you can see, look around and see many shapes of that. Look in the mirror on the wall there. What do you see? You see nothing but reflections or images in the mirror. Now you can't say they're not there, but go up and try and pull a reflection out of the mirror. You can't say it is there. So it's only appearing to be so, like all the rest of the manifestation. It's right in front of your very eyes. And what they call the basic space of phenomena. Base of it all is space. And have a look. Is any one of you out of space right now? And can you postulate or think of anything at all that can be out of space? It can't be. But can you find a beginning to space? You can't. There is no place where it begins, they say, or it began billions of light years ago with a Big Bang or something. But what would that Big Bang begin? It'd have to be in space, wouldn't it? There's nothing you can postulate or think of that's outside of space. But space is no thing. See you in this room, space. Can you call it a thing? Can you find a beginning to it? A centre to it? A boundary to it? Or describe it or tear it up in any way? You can't. It just is. And we call it, as I say, Satchitananda, or being, knowing and loving to be. You call yourself a human being. You believe in God, you'll call God the Supreme Being. What if you take off that label, human, and take off the label, supreme? Try and tell me you're not being without those labels. So you realise without the labels you are still being. And being is not becoming. It's not time-bound. Becoming implies a future time. I will become. And there's no such thing as time. Can you have a look at it? Is there a past if you don't think about it? And you can't live in the past. So the future is anticipation and imagination. You can't live a moment in the future. So you've never moved away from this spontaneous now. That is all there is. It's spontaneous. So the time-space thing that we're all bound in is really no thing whatsoever. No time, no space. all an absolute awareness of being, presence awareness, pre-sense awareness. If we break it right down, before the senses tick in and start putting names and forms on it. Presently aware. Anybody unaware right now? And you know, I'm aware. You can't deny it or can't negate it. But again, we've taken on the idea with this persona, and I am so-and-so, doing this and doing that. Instead of seeing clearly, we go back into the old habit patterns. Now, it tells you in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God. That's all that God is a Word. All things were made by Him, by the Word. Now have a look at that. Everything in this room you have words for. We put names on everything. Yourself, others, the carpet, the tree, the flower, and everything outside it. All words. And we take the words to be real and see in the word is just a vibration of energy, a sound. Vibrates into noise, vibrates into concepts, words. And then you want to understand the animals and birds haven't learned any words. They have sounds and identify themselves by sounds. This call might be a call, there's food here. Another call might be saying, look out, there's something to be fearful out there. Or what other calls, you know, a court mating call. All calls, and we've got words. And put images on those words. And take the image to be real. And so called. Then we get fearful, anxious, depressed, guilty, unhappy about the word. Nisargadatta tells you, nothing can trouble you except your own imagination. And when you look at that, you see it's true. But break that word imagination down to imagine. Imagine. That's what we do. We're creating these mental images, just like the image in the mirror. The image in the mirror is not in the mirror, though it appears to be in the mirror. To go and try and grab the image out of a mirror, you can't. But you can't say it's not there, but you can't say it is there. That's the same with this manifestation. When you look into it, investigate it, you'll see it's not how it appears. In the recognition of that, you're free of the belief. And it's the belief that causes all our problems. When we believe this and believe that. And the definition of belief is an unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. I mean, we haven't reasoned it out, we've taken it for granted. Acceptance of an alleged fact without positive knowledge or proof. When you put your beliefs to that test, they won't stand up to it. And that's where you can be free from it. That's the point of it all. Free from the belief. Be with the truth. Know the truth. And the truth will set you free. And it's that sense of presence which translates as the thought, I am. You are the beingness, the sense of presence. When we say I am, we put the conceptual image. I am so-and-so. I'm the good fellow or not so good, or having a bad trot. And all the other concepts will come upon it and make up a story which breaks us up from being this non-conceptual, ever fresh presence awareness, the absolute. If you recognise you are the absolute, nothing can be added to the absolute. Recognise that, who can be superior to you? Now you've got this idea that so-and-so is better than I am, and so-and-so, I'm much better than he, or this is not right, or something else not. So there's no one superior to you, if you're absolute, no one inferior to you. And what would you want from anybody else? So wouldn't this take away a lot of the hassle and problems we got when we're seeing the others as separate and apart from us? We want to take from them, or sometimes we want to give a little bit to them, but very little. But it's all the problems because of that sense of separation. But if I see you and I as the one essence, and left as it is, just as in this manifestation, the manifestation vibrates in the opposites. Shakespeare told you there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So it's the thinking, conceptualising the thinking that gives us all these problems. Now what is wrong with right now if I don't think about it? Without a thought, can you say it's good? Can you say it's bad? Can you say it's pleasant, painful, happy or sad without a thought? You can't. Everything is as it is, not as it was or not as it will be, but as it is. Isness is all there is. It's this presence, awareness. And it needs to be recognised and settled into. And settling and recognising that, life unfolds as it should. And see how, look at nature. Nature's the best teacher you can have. See how nature is functioning. Look out there, it's daylight right now. What does that mean? When you look into it, all it means is this earth we're sitting on, preparing in, seeming earth, this part of it is facing the sun. And so it's light. Now, does the earth know anything about light or dark? It doesn't. And does the sun know anything about darkness or light? It doesn't. But it happens to be so. And all this earth is doing is rolling around the sun. And as it rolls, this part will face away from the sun, and the other side will be facing the sun. It'll become light. Now, the sun doesn't know anything of darkness or light. It just shines of itself. And the earth doesn't know anything about daylight or dark. It just shines of itself. Now, you or I, without this conceptual belief we are this person or entity, that functioning life essence is happening by itself. How did you come into existence? You'll say, I was born. But can any one of you actually remember your birth? People say they remember the birth, but there is no one who can remember their birth because you had no words at birth. So how could you say, I was born, if you had no words? And you didn't pick up any words till you were a couple of months, a couple of years old, when your parents fussing around you started speaking the words and told you a little Johnny or little Billy. Instead of saying, I am the reality, I am the absolute, you say, I am a little Billy or little Jane, whatever your name was. And anybody asks you today, who am I? You'll say, I am Bill or Jack or Jane or Mary, whatever your name might be. And somebody tells you you are that, a lot of you hear that and don't recognise what it actually means, like I did for years. I believed, oh yeah, that's a good one. I didn't realise what it actually means, that is all there is. You are the absolute, pure, non-conceptual, ever-fresh awareness. And there is no one who is unaware right now. So you don't have to become it. You don't have to practice this and practice that to become something. But what you do need to do is recognise. And that's another word they use. They call it, the Buddha calls it a cognising emptiness. Emptiness with the capacity of cognising. And we don't see that. But when you recognise it, we think we are cognising emptiness, but it's not. It's the emptiness itself, this space like awareness, this pure beingness or knownness that has the capacity of knowing. And he made the statement then, emptiness is form. All these forms, we turn it round the other way, and all the emptiness is form, and the forms can be nothing other than the emptiness. Now you and I and everything else in this room and in this manifestation are forms. We think that these forms are real, something solid and substantial. But they're not. It's the pattern, shape and form which that life essence or intelligence entity expresses through. It's got to have something to express through. In its absoluteness, it can't say anything. Can't say it's good, bad, pleasant, can't take anything. So it forms patterns, shapes and forms to express through. And those patterns, shapes and forms are taken to be the reality. But that, in recognising that I am that, I am, like Moses told you when he was on the mountain, he recognised I am that I am. Tells you in the Bible, in Isaiah, be still and know that I am is God. And I am is the great mantra. I am. I am that. The sense of presence is the I amness. Not the thought or the word. People say, oh, the word I am, we've got to repeat it. But you can repeat it forever. Not going to do you any good. Might make the mind one-pointed and keep it a bit quiet on what it is. That's all. But what it really means is that sense of presence, the knowing that you are. But you know yourself as the person. And when you know yourself as I am, that sense of presence, that reality, that life, it's totally different. Only me that can be fearful. It's only me that can be anxious, jealous, envy, unhappy, depressed. Me is the cause of all my psychological suffering. Me, a conceptual image. And the effects of that cause are the jealousy, the envy, the fear, the anxiety, the stress. Me is the cause. What happens if I look into it and see me, the cause, is a fiction? It's only a concept, a word I've got. And ask myself then, can there be an effect if it's not related to a cause? If you're not relating to anything, there's nothing there, it's just as it is. And relationship, relativity, is dualism. And that's what we're doing all along. We're relating to this, relating to that. Instead of seeing everything as it is, spontaneous, natural, and ever fresh and ever new, we relate it and divide it. And that seeming division, we are unhappy, fearful, anxious. Which way we told you, why are you unhappy? Because everything you say, everything you think, and everything you do is for yourself. And he says there isn't one. Recognise that who or what is going to be unhappy or fearful. So in recognising the cause is a fiction, and that's all that so-called karma is, cause and effect. Well, what happens if you see the cause, me, is a fiction? Can there be an effect without a cause? Well, there can't be. Well, what's going to happen to your karma then? You see, it's only cause and effect, and it's not actually real. You're going to latch onto it and take it on board? It's a matter of questioning and investigation. And the false cannot stand up to investigation. How did you come about? Well, you say, I was born, and you can't remember your birth. Well, how did you come about? Look into it. That animating life essence you call your father, that pattern you call your father. In that pattern, through the food he's eating and the breathing and heart, enabled in that pattern a little microscopic particle called a sperm to form. You can't see it with your naked eye. But that sperm was suffused with intelligence. It knew what to do. And the same in your mother, that animatic life essence in your mother enabled in that pattern. Another microscopic particle called an egg or an ovum to form. That ovum was suffused with intelligence. It knew what to do. It attached itself to the wall of the uterus. And the sperm, knowing what to do, swam to the ovum. And when those two came together, what happened? They mingled and came together and doubled and grew, and that life energy in both of them formed the little embryo, the little fetus, which is what you are today. What were you doing about it then? And what are you doing about it today? Realise that this functioning is going on naturally, spontaneously and effortlessly. And it's growing you, breathing you, beating your heart, digesting your food, rolling the earth around the sun, causing the seasons to come and go, the tides to come in and out. Everything is that vibrating intelligence energy. We got this idea that we are this personal self. But you look into the scriptures, you'll see there is only one self, the Atman, that's the self. The one self, the one life, the one in it, partly shaping and forming. And you are already that, and only that we've taken on the belief that we are separate. Realise that a belief is not the actual. Something comes up and you believe it to be so. But when you look in the definition of belief, it's an unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. Acceptance of an alleged fact without positive knowledge or proof. I don't know whether I'm repeating myself or not now. Anyway, give you a bit of an outlook now. There are people in this room that know this already, and they get up and tell you about it, which is good because that's how it's passed on from some other, the way the ancients did. And in those days there would be only one or two in a village might understand it, and very few to pass it on to. And so it was passed on. But the ones that passed it on, they'd send them up as saints, sages, saviours and seers, and worship the master, and missing the message altogether. But it's a method of going to the message and see that the message is the reality. The master is just another pattern, shape and form. That there's no thing, no better or worse than anybody else. So that's why we ask, that's got an idea to contribute, tell us about it, because it might be said in a different way to what is being said here, and some word might be the one that will resonate with something that you mightn't understood and kick you off on the way, or going into it, or clear it a bit more. And those that you that are here for the first time, got any doubts, don't hesitate to ask questions, because there'll be somebody here that might give you an answer that will resonate with. And that's all here about, to pass on, to carry the message and pass on the message. And you and I are the only ones that can do that, each and every one of us. But first, it needs to be grasped and understood by each and every one of us. So, Cat, come on. I'm not meaning a cat on your knee either.
Two for one deal.
Thank you. He is very strong. Yeah. So you can stay, darling. You can stay. So we have a lot of good morning messages and morning all from everyone around the world, and no questions from our online community. So this is the invitation. This is the invitation for all of us to contribute now, because as Bob said, everyone is aware of presence. So it is only a recognition of that awareness of presence. It's nothing that you need to know that you don't know already, because it is already so. You are already that life. You may believe that you are something else, and those beliefs are what stays in the way. But apart from those beliefs that we can look and question and disregard, everyone has 100% certainty of existence right now. It's just that if we look through the mind, that certainty of existence is nothing. It's not important. It's not valid. But if we dive into the core of the essence or the heart, the miracle of existence is the only thing that is worthy of attention. So it is really about bringing up whatever resonates with anyone and everyone, whatever you actually understood and grasped, just highlight it, repeat it for yourself and for everyone else. Anyone would like to start?
Oh, the clubbing. Yeah.
It's the
Sorry.
clock, yeah. It's a clock
Lovely thing.
Bob got from James Braha 20 years ago.
Just picking up on Bob's effortless being, like what were you doing about it in terms of that breath that you took or cells dividing?
And
Can you hear me okay, Bob? Just saying
Effortless being.
effortless being. So the idea of cells dividing or the breath and the way you express that, like that's something that I've been noticing is that's the same for thought as well, because often we think when the thought comes in, like it grabs you and then you're gone, like that being is gone. It's never gone, of course, but even the thoughts are effortless. Even if the thoughts are disturbing and worrying and they're horrible thoughts, it's effortless that they arise.
yes,
So that absolutely everything that arises is effortless,
yeah,
even disturbing thoughts.
that's right. Life lives itself. We don't live the life. Ever fresh, ever new.
Yeah, so thanks, Bob. Thanks,
Thank
Kat.
you.
Beautiful highlight.
This week I've been with cognizing emptiness. This has been arising in my consciousness all the time. And it's a great pointer, it's a great check. And like you said, it's not the person, it's not something. And it's a check that it's nothing. You know, and it's a powerful one. There's another term that I got was from someone else was be like two eyeballs floating in space. I mean, basically we have this concept that we're somebody and something, and it's solid. And this is basically just to eliminate that solidity, you know, to check in all the time that there's really nothing here, but yet there's something because it's so alive and it's so vibrant and so being. So it's very powerful.
I was thinking like all this is appearing, you know, without any thoughts. And, you know, whether we like it or not, we can't change the fact that it's appearing. And so there's no control over that appearance. So if there's no one controlling this appearance, then the appearance is just appearing, like everyone's been saying, effortlessly. And like was said before, these thoughts also appearing effortlessly in this, and yeah, that's all I have to say.
You've been repeating yourself for 40 years, odd Bob. I don't think you should start worrying about that now. Okay? Please do. Yeah. What we are is a reservoir, if you like, of thoughts appearing from nowhere and resolving themselves. That's all that happens. Thoughts don't. If you really look at it, thoughts have no life unto themselves, do they? They cannot live beyond our awareness of them. But awareness itself is constant. It's a constant radiating force in us, isn't it? And that's all that needs to be held in mind. Like all the thoughts that we have from time to time, they're all gone now, aren't they? They'll go, they come and they go, they come and they go. But that's the nature of it all. That's all we have to be aware of, I believe.
I'll add on to that as well. This past week for me has been very a lot of discomfort and a lot of fatigue, severe fatigue, and other things coming. But one thing that there's something that knows that all of that changes, and passes. Doesn't matter. Sometimes any of us who've suffered pain or illness or something know that that can overwhelm the mind itself at times because it's so strong. But at the same time, there's a knowledge that everything is changing. It always changes. And there's something that knows that it's always changing. And that's where the relief is, really, the understanding of that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bob. Up here.
I feel like sometimes it's taken for granted, you know, especially if you've been here, you know, lots, or like anything, you know, you have breakfast every morning, or there's a routine of brushing your teeth, and you know, you can miss the fact that it's happening fresh right now, and that you're not actually experiencing this from last time. This is actually like happening, like Bob says, ever fresh right now. This is the first time we've ever spoken, you know, and it's just funny because, you know, we come here and there are thoughts of, you know, what Bob, Bob has his spiel and he's said it lots of times, and you know, your mind might think, oh, I've heard that before, but you haven't actually heard that before because it's happening fresh right now, you know, and it's just a thought that comes up and says, oh, I've heard that before, but you know, we're all meeting here for the first time, every single moment, like, and yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, the whole past also arises right in this moment. The concept that Bob is doing it for 48 years is also the idea arising in that moment. There's nothing other happening but this moment, with all its contents and dreams. And Michael?
Yeah, thanks. That's because it's this moment, that we make this. The mind jumps in and says, "Oh, no, I've done this before. I do it every day." But then the temperature right now, the light coming through, the sounds in the background, like as Kat said, absolutely every tiny thing that makes this moment up. It's unique. It's like a precious. Diamonds are precious, right? You can you can mine millions of diamonds. How many moments can you mine? That's every snowflake. Every snowflake's unique. Every blade of grass. This moment.
That's why I feel like we keep coming back to this conversation about non-duality, because it just keeps the same conversation as new every single time we talk about it, and every time we get to the crux of it, it's like boom, and then there's nothing, and then we talk about it again, and then it boom, and then it's nothing again, and we're just like sitting it, you know, even though there's no time, we're just like sitting in it, and then we talk about it again, it's boom, and we just love that. It's like jumping on the roller coaster, you know. Every time we talk about it, it just hits and hits, and we just, but every time it's new as well. Yeah.
There's something that attracts us to it, isn't it? There's something truly that has magnetic force towards that present moment. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Ross.
Yeah, what is it? I was watching a film during the week, and there's the actor is describing what it is about mountain climbing that he loves, and he starts talking about
being lost in the activity of climbing the mountain, the freshness and the freshness of the air, and at the centre of it all, this deep presence of life that seems to be it. And then the mind comes in. I was taken back to school days when you'd go out from being out of the classroom, and then you're in the open air, and there's a freshness and vibrancy about everything. And you wonder, what's going on? What is this? That's it. That's this deep presence of life. Just that recognition. Later on, you could articulate it maybe a lot better, but it's just that wow, the wow of being.
And there's no immediate presence.
It's what, Bob?
Presence.
Effortless presence, you said? Yeah. And also, it is the beauty of it is, when you stay in the natural state, you stay in the core of your being or your heart. That natural appreciation and that freshness and newness and curiosity is present. And then the mind kicks in and it starts computing, comparing. Oh, this I've seen before. Oh, that reminds me of this one. Oh, I heard this one. Oh, I heard, like all that computing stuff. And it's nothing wrong with that. It is a part of the landscape. It's just that the habit of attention is to completely overlook the miracle of this moment that will never be the same again. And all attention going to the computing and being fascinated in whatever the result of the computing or comparison or judgment or whatever is. Finding the balance and prioritizing the freshness of life over that narrative is where the freedom from suffering is. And it happens naturally. As the more we find ourselves in that situation when there is a resonance, when there is an effortless recognition, where we actually let life take us where we need to be, and we find ourselves in the situations that somehow support it, the more easy it is, the more natural it is, and the more we effortlessly fall in love with that freshness. And that love carries out and bring more of itself, more of a recognition, more of appreciation, and more of the attention naturally flows into it. And the narrative is being used when it's required, and not dysregulated and taking over the show and creating all that unnecessary suffering. I see Marty has a...
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what was talked about there, which is the memories. Like every memory is just an image of this moment, right? Like this moment we're having right now. I take it a snapshot, and the brain takes a snapshot of it, and then I'm walking down the street next week, and I have this picture arise in my mind of this that is happening right now. You remember the first time you, I don't know, kissed, and that moment, that memory was this, and in that moment you were just, experiencing yourself as one, and, you can call it love, whatever you want to call it, but it was this, and every memory that we have is just this as well. And so, but this is always happening, and it's different every time, it's new every time, and we are free here as well, which is quite nice. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Just reflecting on several things that have been said and other stuff that's come to mind. One thing that straight away comes up is that we often hear speak about non-duality, but again, that's just a word or a phrase, and it's nothing that you can actually clarify or identify, and yet it's something that in the state of presence we recognize as being that which is pure being. Yeah. And therefore we call it non-dual, because there doesn't seem to be anything separate from pure being. And where we come from, though, is that we exist currently in a state where we have senses, perceptions, thoughts, and so we operate quite often by falling into the recognition of these senses in a way that we consider the result of those sensations to be existent in their own right, not remembering that what comes from those senses and those experiences is only lightened by the fact of presence itself. If it wasn't for presence and that awareness itself, those senses and sensations would never exist in the first place. So we come back again to this sense of everything being non-dual, because everything that's experienced outside is really only the result of what is present here within. And yet what is within is not completely within, nor is it without. Again, duality comes up. So this phrase, which is indefinable, can be experienced when we relax into that presence. But it's really quite remarkable in its own right.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, we have Richard says blossom. And Tom says, speaking of films, here people seen Perfect Days, the Japanese film about Zen toilet cleaner in Tokyo. Highly recommended. And Jane says, be with what is. Yeah, I love what you were saying, Ben, on, the every sensation and every perception is actually transformed light of being. It is being transformed through the organism into seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. It's the same presence. Yeah.
In what it's experiencing.
Yeah, absolutely. If not for the experiences, if not for the being, the experiences wouldn't be possible. Like Bob sometimes brings up the idea of a corpse. It has the eyes, but it can't see. It has the ears, it can't hear. It's the light of being, it's that aliveness which filtered through the organism, through the physical machine, the biomechanical thingy, suddenly is tangible, because you can experience the seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. That's the miracle.
What makes this group so substantially pleasant is that there's so many here that recognise being, and thus it radiates, and we all get to enjoy that radiation from and to each other. It's really quite remarkable.
Wow, that's a brilliant insight. I actually didn't look at it this way. That it is actually the only opportunity for life to experience itself consciously is to see the reflection of itself in the Maya, because as in essence it is completely intangible as a being, but it's reflected in the Maya, and once it reflects itself of each other, it actually multiplies. Yeah, that's a beautiful image. I love it. Yeah. Yeah, so keep focusing on what resonates, of what's recognized, and it just, it multiplies. Being requires non-being, says Tom. I don't know if it requires anything, but in the language, you can always get lost in the forms and concepts. Yeah. And being and non-being, that's just, again, you can only tangibly comprehend or experience being in a form. As a formless, it does. Yeah. You can't say whether it exists or it doesn't.
The non-being is that there's no individual being as we relate in the dualistic world. There is just the pure being. And we use the word being because it's a label that seems to fit. In it itself is not that label, but it's useful.
Yeah, and Bob often also says that, you know, everything has a being, including insentient, so-called insentient, because what do we know? You know, that little piece of rope has a being, and the glasses, they have a being. This is all beings, just separated by the labels that we put on them. It's nothing's not non-being, or even Marty, even what's non-being is.
I was thinking of a quote, and I think everyone will be able to help me with this. It's, what is it? Love everything or nothing? What's it?
None of it, yes. Love all of it or none of it.
Love all of it or none of it. And I feel like, you know, there's a lot of people that like, you know, they like some things and they don't like some things. So they're in this like state where they're, you know, chasing something that they like, and then almost like not even noticing that they live 50% of the time outside of, you know, because let's say I really like eating, and I don't really like sitting and listening to other people, right, which is what we're doing right now. You know, I'm in my mind, I'm already thinking ahead of where I am right now because I don't like what's happening right now, and so I'm missing the fact that this is happening, and you know, I'm just stuck in this thought loop in this moment that's making me, you know, it's pestering this moment. And then I get to eating, and all of a sudden that goes, and now I'm just, you know, enjoying just eating. And I guess what I'm trying to say is there's so much that's happening, and it's all, you know, if you love all of it, you see all of it. As simple as scratching your head, like, you know, you don't like maybe notice that moment that just happened there where you scratch your head, but if you really just fall into, you know, the simplest of moments, like patting a dog, you know, you fall into that moment, or patting a cat, because we've got cats here, you fall into that moment and you just notice that moment, you know, without having this, you know, without the thought of, oh, I've got to get to work, say, you know, there's a cat in front of you, but you're in a rush to get to work, and you're, oh yeah, pat, and you go. But if you didn't have that, you know, if you loved all, you wouldn't have that thought. You just pat that cat, and you would just be experiencing like absolute oneness, and, you know, appearing as this pat with a cat. I know it sounds pretty outrageous, but you know what I mean? Like, you hugging your mother or father, like, if you really live in that moment, you know, that's everything there. Like, it just, that's, you know, but it's also everything here right now. Yeah. It's also doing the dishes. Yeah. So you can really enjoy every part of it. And yeah, I don't know.
Beautiful.
Illness is a great present awareness awakener. You know, I've been pretty sick for these last couple of years, and it's like next. And it's just brought me so much to being here, you know, surrender on a big level, because I realize there's not much I can do. I'm just going for this ride, and I'm watching it, and I'm watching my reactions to it. I'm watching the body, I'm watching the pain, I'm watching everything. But it, you know, through this surrender of what is, it's very powerful to bring you to presence, and not so far, you know, to be looking what you know, what's next, or what can I do about it. I mean, obviously in the moment you react and actions happen and responses happen, but yeah, when pain comes, you just need to be with it. You know, you can try your best to run from it or to manage it, but yeah, it's like that.
Who is it that's watching and who's trying to run?
That's what I'm saying. I'm watching thoughts arise. You know, what can I do? Where can I do? Sorry?
You say I'm watching, but who's watching?
The watching is happening. No? Yeah. Yeah, there's a sense of me watching and you know, whatever's happening is happening like that. But what the point was that it, you know, there's a very powerful presence in that. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Even with the thoughts and the being present and patting the cat, or like I notice this with music, because with the music you have a song you love and you're looking forward to coming on, you hear the first couple of bars and then you're predicting, you're forecasting, so the mind's already involved and you're completely removed from it. So the song itself, when you're just there and when you're present for it, like it's pure joy. But when you say, I really love this one, or I'm really looking forward to patting the dog, or really looking, so the thoughts are dead. They're actually dead, and they kill the moment almost. Because I don't know, what was it, Bob? The let the dead bury the dead. So you say stuff about that. Can you share that with us? And that relates to the thoughts, all right?
Yeah. Can't remember about it now.
Yeah, you were relating it to the past. The past is dead. Let the dead bury the dead. Past is gone.
But it's every moment as well, isn't it?
It's the idea of separation, past, future, here, there, high, low. It's not separate at all. And when we divide it, that's when the problems start. Leave everything as it is. Works itself out quite right. Could there be day without night? Could there be silence without sound? Could there be winter without summer? Could there be me without you? Or you without me?
Ben or Tony just short. Just wanted to say I appreciate what you said, because one of the beauties of what you just said is you never asked why this is happening to me. You just said it's happening, and that's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, I just want to say one quick thing, and then
You got to come closer.
all thought resolves itself, doesn't it? So there's no need, rather, to make any distinctions at all between good and bad and anything. It all resolves perfectly well. Just let it be. And I think that the resonant truth of all of that is that that's what we are. We're just that bang. That process is in its entirety is what we are. You know, we're not, and that's a sort of radiance as far as I can see. It's not any sort of intelligent, deception, perception of anything. It's just, the arising and the resolving of thought, sensations, perceptions, the whole thing. Can get a little. I don't know whether that makes sense or not, but it feels all right to me.
That's right.
Yeah, I just think the idea of being can get loaded up and made too meaningful and too real. So I'd just like to say, what's a be doing? Being. It's just as basic as that. So it's really just unlabeled activity. And I think that's kind of, all it really is.
Yeah, good. Unlabeled activity. Yeah, I like it. Because then you can actually include, all that activity going on. That I'm patting a cat and I'm 100%, my attention is 100% there. And then the thought comes, yes, but the dishes needs doing. That's also included. All of it is included. It's just somehow, if my heart is with this moment, the mind is a tool and it can plan ahead and it can do its job, but the heart is with the moment. So unlabeled activity, including mental activity. And can we actually stop liking or disliking, or let go or not let go? Of course not. There's no one to do any of it. But in that whole, let's say, depth of existence, that unlabeled happening, in that whole depths, there will be things going on the surface, and in the very, very depth of it is that cognizing emptiness, which is already free from liking and disliking and preferences and loving it all or hating it all of it, because the emptiness doesn't even have inequalities, and as it gets engaged with those layers of activities, then with that layers of activities goes with the preferences and all that it carries around.
So I still have this thing about what reacts, because I find that I get this very strong emotion will come up about, in particular at the moment with who I'm with, which is my dad.
Yes.
That there's such a seemingly long, it's just a story, isn't it? Just
Yes,
like we've got
yeah.
obviously a long history of dealing with things, and I can see it like come up, and often it's just after it's come up, and then energetically it's the opposite of what you said, Ben. It's like here we're reflecting quite a lot of lovely things back. However, when I'm next to somebody that's seemingly down in the depths of gloom all the time, I find it really difficult. I have to get away for a while. That's one thing. Physically remove myself from that space. But once I've react incredibly quickly, and I just don't know how to catch it fast enough. It's just like I've said something before I've realised what I've said. It's just so like it triggers a good word, because it's like you go from this to that. And like I'll come home and I'm in a really lovely state, and I'm thinking, oh, this is working out wonderfully. I've just been for a swim and it's all beautiful, and then something will happen and I'm just like, where the hell did that come from? It'll be a word, and it's just like, because at times I think, well, I should know better. What the hell's going on? I don't get that with so many other people. Like I can cruise through so much, and yet there's still this deep underlying thing that just comes to the surface.
Just like, when you have if you look out in nature, is it something that happens in nature as well? I mean, my mother lived in Spain for 11 or 12 years, and she eventually couldn't stand the fact that the national sport is to torture those bulls with those red blankets. They always react. And who is there? Is there individual self which reacts to the blanket? No, there isn't. You could watch our cats sometimes. They lick each other's faces, and the next moment they pat each other and just run. The reacting happens. And as you see how beautifully life actually look after you sometimes, removing you out from the situation that triggers, sometimes just exploding like a volcano in nature. And then again, the only problem is that there is someone who has a problem, the thought, that it shouldn't be this way, that I don't want it to be this way. And it's a beautiful, loving thought. It's a very, very noble thought to not want to be hurtful towards other people. It's thought nevertheless. Cultivating those beautiful thoughts, but understanding that they are just ideals. And then being free, whether it happens or it doesn't happen. Also, I don't know, if you spoke with his GP, put him on antidepressants. He doesn't have to be in a glooms.
He doesn't want to take any of that. Like the other frustration is it's like there are so many suggestions that I've made that I can see would make his life easier. And the frustration is that he says no to them, yet in that, my life also seems to be more difficult because he's not, you know, doing some really basic stuff, and and I, you know, and that's my I know it's I can only change my reaction to the situation or accept that situation, and sometimes it's very difficult that you know, if you do this, it could be really good for you, you know.
That is not going to change.
Your father is a manifestation of what is, and it's designed to get you to recognise where you're missing it.
I can accept that. It's just, okay.
It can also be that, you know, right now life is moving you.
Yeah.
You know, because at some point that might be a situation that you won't be able to look after him, and maybe that's what it's coming to.
That is true.
And then it's just because everything's changing all the time. Maybe that's just the change that is necessary, because otherwise you'll hang on to it and never give up. Who knows?
Yeah, and I guess the lesson here is me accepting that there's, you know, you can't change things necessarily as much as... Yeah, okay. It seems real in the moment, though, I can tell you. Well,
It's conditioning.
Yeah.
You've got a long history here.
My longest.
Your longest. And so it's a long-term conditioning.
Yeah.
And most of the time that you've spent in that sense of being conditioned was in an unawakened state. So you didn't know presence, you didn't live in presence, and all that conditioning has been from a dualistic point of view. That's very embedded, and that takes time of living and resting in that present state for that to be unwound and worked out. Some people it can happen straight away, they're pretty rare. The rest of us take time to gradually unwind all this conditioning. But when you recognise that it's just conditioning, and it's completely removed when you stay in presence, it makes it easier.
Yeah, well, when we speak about it like this, there's a knowledge in there. The difficulty is in that conditioning and the I call it triggering, whatever you want to call it, when stuff just comes up seemingly out of nowhere. And maybe it's just me just getting to see that is what it is and just letting it go. But it's not.
But and isn't that but beautiful? I mean, I find it really, really beautiful that you actually, that your heart is pure. Your body has certain habits or reactions or responses. It has preferences as well.
Yep.
And it get inflamed, you know, and he probably knows where are your buttons and he's pushing them. And they are not really your buttons, they belong to the body.
And I don't think it's it's not a blame.
I know.
It's not intentional from him. He's just living out his patterning, and I guess to some degree so am I until that changes. But
he is not the doer. You are not the doer. The thoughts about being loving and being actually immune to those triggers, again, they are very, very noble ideals. It may or it may not happen. Who knows? And if you find a space in which you are okay, that you're going to be reacting like this for the rest of your life, or maybe even worse, that's the freedom. Because you don't care whether the body of Tibor is jumping and screaming or the body of Tibor is not jumping and screaming. I am the life. I am the space in which the screaming and jumping happens or doesn't happen. I'm curious. What's my next reaction is going to be? Is it going to be jumping, or is it going to be okay? Or is it going to be, that's the true freedom, when nothing needs to change. And at the same time, it is really noble and beautiful. And I hope everyone gets the ideas and thoughts of like metta, wanting to only wish love and happiness to everyone, and wanting to only be kind and loving. And there is a guy who says here, Tom, therapy for you might help with underlying emotional trauma from an early childhood. Who knows? I mean, No, it's an idea. It's an idea. If you are, because I would say, you know, that the problem that you are really struggling with is the resistance to the responses of the body, because the reactions are actually always neutral. You know, like if Jesus says, someone slap you in the face, you put the other cheek. But then someone slap him with in the temple with the people, you know, like exchanging money, and he didn't put the other cheek out. He turned the tables. Nobody knows what your next thought, what your next feeling, or your next reaction is going to be. My cats don't know either. And just finding that place on the depth of the ocean, when there is a freedom and curiosity, what is going to happen next? And then when you are not involved, when you are not self-rejective or self-humiliating or judging yourself for being the way you are, because the way you are is again an outcome of the whole universe contributing. Every moment, every thought, every experience, every memory created you this way. And that's why you have the sensitivities around him, and that's why there is this volcanic response to that. So you can't undo it, or, well, even if you could, why would you? This is the life expressing itself. And being the space in which you are that space, being held for life and for Tibor to do whatever he needs to do. That's the healing, because when you resist the reaction, you actually put fuel on the fire. Whether there is a resistance or whether there is a desire, either way, the attention goes there. And now, oh shit, I don't want to yell, I don't want to call him names, oh gosh, I don't want to. And that I don't want to, see how much attention fuels the reaction. The moment the reaction is completely neutral and doesn't matter whether it happened or it doesn't, usually the byproduct is that it doesn't. It falls away by itself, not by effort.
And I've often seen that how quickly, once I recognise it, it goes quite quickly. You know, it can be, you know, in seconds, even though there's been that whatever reaction. And the other big thing is, you know, don't be the one to say the last word, because that perpetuates it as well. It's just like, recognise what's just happened. And I often can do it quickly. It's just how like it comes up so powerfully and so quickly, and that what freaks me out. Is like, where the hell did that come from?
Isn't it sobering?
Bad.
Isn't it sobering how you actually see how you're not doing it?
Okay. Yeah,
because, you know, the reaction comes up, just like, where is the next thought coming up from? You don't know. So
it's exactly the same as the thought. Yep.
You're not the doer. You are the space, the being, the space-like awareness in which the body does whatever it does. You don't know how digestion happens. Or do you? The body does whatever it does. And the same thing with those explosive emotions. And it is amazed. If you are amazed by the way those mechanisms work, you know how the hearing works. Shit, you know, I'm not doing it, obviously. And then I'm not doing the reactions either. I'm not doing the talking right now. I'm not. I don't. If there was any me who knew how to do that or control that, there's no one there. So giving up that idea that, you know, holding the ideal in the heart, oh, I want to be a good person, how sweet, beautiful. And at the same time, being completely clear, there is no one there to be good or bad. There is just life experiencing and expressing itself. You want to say something?
I say you can recognise how quickly it comes up and traps you. I wonder why. But the other way, when you start to recognise and let it go, how quickly, why didn't I react to that? Things come up that were react to before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, beautiful. Yeah, look for those moments.
Yeah, because I don't react
every time.
No.
Yes.
In fact, mostly I don't.
There you go.
But it's I remember the times that I do.
See, training makes masters,
Yeah,
and you
okay.
actually practicing remembering the bad stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So
good
you
point. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to. I just wanted to, the thing when something, when a reaction comes up and it overpowers you, you don't, whoever that, you can't stop that. Nothing can stop that when it comes up like that. I've had the opportunity to look at that a lot in the self here, and it's all around survival. It's all around, us humans have this memory that we can call on. It's part of our, the way we operate, way the body operates here. But a lot of it is around survival. And then I contemplate the fact that people in some of the most dire situations have complete awakenings, where no longer are they affected with what's come up. Their body might have a reaction, or they may even have an emotional reaction to something, but not identify with it, and the big thing is like people who awaken in concentration camps in one of the most shocking environments, which you think your reaction within that couldn't be controlled at all, but then people have full awakenings in that. So that's what I'm saying. I think a lot of that reaction is about survival of this.
Yes.
Of life surviving, life wanting to live. Mm-hmm. And when that is investigated, you see that it's just that. And we have this bank of memory to call on for that, to teach us, no, don't go there, or, don't do that, or don't drink that, or whatever it is. It's survival. And often it's like the realisation of all of that can go, right, it's so simple. For me, anyway.
Yeah,
That's been the experience.
That's beautiful.
Can I say something? Just that we make these thoughts so sacrosanct beyond redemption, don't we? That's the thing. But all thought is the same. All thoughts, all sensations, everything that's happening to you, they're all equal. Stunning brilliance, really. Even the bad, so-called bad things that are happening. But, that's what we do. In recognition of that, it's quite decisive. It was for me, anyway, just to see where I'm making this particular issue the most important one. Now, I'm defining what the landscape looks like, the ups and downs, this and that, aren't I? In that, I'm the one who's deciding what is worth it and what isn't worth it, all that stuff. But that's all just thought, anyway. Where are the issues now? Right? They're gone. That's the nature of it. Isn't that beautiful? Just in itself, it's gone. Everything is gone. Never had any life, really, outside the brilliance of awareness itself. And that's there. Anyway. Oh, sorry. Have you
No,
had any
finished.
more? No. Marty?
Yeah, I don't really know how to give any solutions at all. I don't have any, but the breath is a lot more interesting than the thoughts that are going on. That's just in my opinion. Really, we try and understand everything with the mind, even though we know that there's nothing, we can't understand it. And so if there's nothing to understand, then all that's left to do is just be, And that's way better than trying to understand it. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
No, it's not.
Really, the way we talk about understanding is really working it out in the mind, and what a waste of resources. And we have a couple of comments here. Vivek says, more the I, more the personality, more the frustration and trouble. And Tom is wishing everyone a great day. And Jane says, habit patterns dissipate with the light of awareness. And Deborah says, thanks. Oops, sorry. I just got the thing. And we have Catherine. Any ideal about how things should be, such as I should be better, is what creates the conflict, not the reaction itself. Exactly, yeah. And so all of these reactions are arising within pure unconditionally loving awareness. Yeah, that's a great point. Awareness doesn't differentiate. And if you look from the perspective of life, it doesn't even have preference for loving response over hating response, because it covers it all. It has it all, and it needs it all. The whole, the both, the black and white, the darkness and the light, and the winter and the summer, all of them are equally necessary for the expression to even exist. So there are people who live their life in deep darkness and misery, and there are people who cruise through really light, easy, kind of happy. And within every moment, the polarity also repeats itself like a mandala, like a pattern is endless. But from life's perspective, there's nothing wrong. It needs it all. People living in poverty, people living in riches, and humans and unhumans and other sentients. It's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
I was just reminded of a quantum physicist who eventually everything he studied in science was confirming the teachings of all the great religions. And the thing he said was, we should remember, and this sort of applies to what was mentioned earlier about the happy feeling in the room at the start, before the meeting got started. There was a happy feeling in the room because everyone has an inkling of the truth behind it. And this particular person said, this expression was, everyone here is an expression of infinite intelligence. Mm-hmm. Everyone, yeah. No exception. And the thing that we have to learn is that we get triggered by our partners or our parents, children, and we need to learn in that emotion that arises that there is no other. Mm-hmm. That's the thing we have to. We're constantly triggered into confronting, and to love thy neighbour as thyself. Mm.
Easier said than done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
the recognition, it's not the
it's that we are in relation. That's the thing. If we're not in relation, like you said, because you said, children, parents, partners, that's a relation or a relationship, and that's, I think you said that earlier, that already is duality, relationship. So it's so it's if I can see that it's the relationship, or which is a concept in itself. By dropping that relationship concept, then it just is arising in space, and that's all there is, and that's okay, whatever unfolds.
Beautiful.
Again, that brings me back to the thing of, the stories of people waking up in the most atrocious environments, and what gymnastics had to happen mentally for that to occur, for that to have the experience of letting go of whatever is. Really quite profound, that thing, to contemplate, because there must be a total, not an acceptance, but a letting go of the own reaction to accepting that everybody is, others are doing as they do. They have to do, it's part of their role in the life, or whatever that is. Who knows? That's just a contemplation. But that jump from extreme trauma into liberation of the self, isn't that remarkable? That deep level of suffering bringing around awakening. Yeah, that's a thing to contemplate. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. Yeah. End of suffering. Yeah.
That miracle that you're talking about, the gymnastics, is the intuitive recognition that we are not the experiences that we have, but that we are fundamentally behind those experiences. And so what you're letting go is you're letting go of the experiences, you're letting go clinging on to thinking that those experiences is what I am. And when you've let those go, there's no real gymnastics to it. It's just that intuitive sense that because it's already there, that I'm not those experiences.
You let go of the person that's experiencing.
Correct. There's no person.
I think there's a deep
And we are not those experiences. We're not the thoughts, we're not the experiences.
Sorry, I think that level of suffering prior to that
induces the intuition.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, it brings it obviously something, that intensity of suffering. No, I know, but that's true. A lot of people just suffer.
They're clean.
Yeah, I love what when Russ was talking about, finding the same in your neighbor, recognizing that life. That is the only way to love thy neighbor like thyself. If you know that there is no self here, you also know there is no self anywhere else. So if there is no self, how could you blame anyone? How could you expect anything?
Why is my other self behaving like that?
Cut that one off.
Yeah, why? Good question, why? Yeah, recognizing that is just one life reflected in everyone, and now even stepping back from that recognition and seeing that both, on that scene, the bull and the blanket, they both happen within the space that you are. It's not that, I am a bull, I am not the doer, and the blanket is a trigger. No, all of it, my body and the other body, they happen within that sphere of being knowing. And just being curious, what is the body going to do? How is the body going to respond? But I also like what you highlighted, Tibor, about the relationships. And I remember once, I think it was probably about 5 years ago, and it was on my birthday that a girl who used to come here, later on she had an interview on the relationship with us. She asked, why, Bob, you are talking about the relationship, that relationship is duality, and you are in a relationship yourself. Call for integrity. And Bob looked at her on my birthday. I'm not in a relationship. This is a natural joining. It is a joining when you recognize your own reflection in the other. And there is no one to relate to anyone, because there's no one there. There's no one there. It's just the same reflection. He is my Shiva reflected in the Maya. He is my favorite illusion, a dream. But there is no me and no him, because it is the one reflected in each other. In this way, relationship disappears. There's no relating, even though it looks like it. We are officially married. Yes, it looks like there was even a document signed. I even got his last name. But this is how it appears in Maya. But in truth, the Maya is just an appearance, and the happening, the unfolding, is just a natural joining. It's like animals; they don't really have any concepts, and some of them made for life, some of them made for a season. It is all already inbuilt in the body minds that the life is carrying as the vehicle. just cancelling the relationship. And because if there is no one here to relate to no one there, there's no relating. It's just a dance.
Dance of life.
Yeah.
Big hands on the clock, say.
They are. And Jane says the last thing here, satsang, being in the satsang is being in the company of truth. And Ariel says thank you for the beautiful appearance. And thank you everyone.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Kat.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.